right, what's up? Tim Sykes here. It is the weekend, and I wanted to go over my recent trades. I think it's good to see what you're doing right, what you're doing wrong, learn from me, learn from my top students. Several of my top students, like Jack Kellogg, just had a record week. He made over $300,000 on the week, closing in on $14 million total. Challenge students, you must watch his weekly webinars. You must tune in. It is not an option. He is just too successful, too useful, too helpful. It's crazy to me. I'm going to post a link to the challenge. If you're not in the challenge, I'm sending this video to everybody. Get in the damn challenge. And if you're in the challenge, get in damn Jack Kellogg's webinars every single week. He is on fire. This past week was interesting because I was actually in LIFW while he was giving his weekly webinar. So he was commentating on it. It seems to be good luck when I'm in a trade when he's already giving his webinar. You know, I had a big win on LIFW this week, and I had a big win on, I forget what the one was. It was months ago, but I made 40% plus, and Jack was like live commenting on it too, which is kind of cool. But I want to go over LIFW and GXAI because, you know, I had 2 Friday plays. This doesn't always happen. I'll link my Friday newsletter too. Some of you already have access if you're watching this. Some of you don't, but I'll link it below. If you don't, get in it because I separated it into its own newsletter so that you could specifically focus on this one pattern. And it's not an exact science, okay? You know, but the goal is to basically buy a stock on a Friday, late in the day, sell it either later in the day or ideally next week. You know, I have patience problems, so the US stock market is closed over the weekend. That helps me hold. But also even just trying to hold over the weekend gives me more patience, which is what made me so successful on LIFW. You know, Jack was a little surprised that I was so patient. A lot of students were, because, you know, it was a big percentage win for me. But I didn't want to sell it on a Friday. When I buy a Friday stock in my weekend strategy, the goal is to hold it over the weekend. But you know, in terms of both of these cases, you know, GXAI, I had to cut losses because the losses just got too great for me. I underestimated the choppiness, which I'll go over in a second. And LIFW forced my hand too because the profits were just too great. So these are 2 good trades where both of them were awesome Friday afternoon runners. GXAI, in hindsight, I should be holding. You know, this one finished at its highs after hours. Beautiful. I wish that I had still had it, but I was dip buying it in here on this fade. And you know, a lot of these penny stocks, they just fade and fade and fade and never come back. GXAI after hours came back, and most likely Monday pre-market, it's going to retest the highs in the 350s. I had my average down to like 250. So theoretically, this coulda, shoulda, would have been a massive $15,000, $20,000 profit already. But I'll go over that, you know, like sometimes you underestimate the choppiness. Sometimes you take too much size too quickly. It's not like I gave up on it. I did buy it not once, not twice, but 3 times. So you can't say that I gave up on it, you know, entirely too quickly. You also have to just remember that I'm in Asia. So I'm showing beautiful videos from like Mount Fuji and all over the place. I'm going to this guy's wedding in a few days. Him and his fiance Bianca are getting married in the Philippines. I will be there in just a few days, so I'm in Asia to celebrate that. Evan, in case you don't know, is one of 2 brothers who joined my challenge, and they both have become millionaires. Evan is up around 600,000 this year. I think he's at 1.6 million total. And his brother Chris has made over $1 million, I think, this year, and he's closing in on like 2 million. But like, these guys are awesome. I'm excited to go to his wedding. But the reason why I bring this up, not just to show beautiful videos, it's tough with the time zone. I stayed up as long as I could on Friday. I said, you know, this was at 3:40 p.m. Eastern on Friday. And I was like, 5:40 a.m. here. I got to pass out. And this was just like me so freaking exhausted. I was trying to make it to the close. But again, I had like the big swings on GXAI and the big swings on LIFW, which I'll go over. And, you know, trading from Asia is always a grind, but especially when you're in these trades and it's crazy. Props to so many of you students, not just Jack making $300,000, but, you know, upcoming students. Cruise Control, Trader of the Week. He had another $1,000 day, I think on Friday, 7K on the week, closing in on 45K overall. He was just celebrating crossing 20K overall just a few weeks ago. It's pretty cool once you're on the right track with the strategy, seeing how to take singles, seeing, how to lock them in. It's pretty crazy how the money can add up. And Cruz is like messaging me. He's like, is this real? I can't believe this. This is insane. I know that's how I felt in the beginning too. This is why I'm so proud to teach something that is real in this industry full of scams. And maybe 25K or 45K isn't a lot to some people, but I know how life-changing it can be. And especially not just the 25K or the 45K, but being on the right track, being self-sufficient and being able to make 1,000, 2,000 in a day, 7,000 in a week, and knowing that if you keep up, it's compounding. He can take these same trades with bigger size later on, and instead of making 1K on the day, he'll make 10K. And instead of making 10K, he'll make 100K. Like, this is what my top students have done. So many people think that it's impossible to become like the next Jack Kellogg or Tim Grattani or Kyle Williams or Matt Monaco or Bryce Tuohy or Mariana or Evan Shankar or Chris Young. More and more people are starting to do it, okay? So really get excited about small gains adding up. I got to give props also to D-Rock. Derek went 4 for 6. He played LIFW a little too safely, but he made his 10%, and that's the beautiful thing. So again, I'm going to link this video presentation below. It talks about why I'm buying stocks on a Friday. Maybe you've seen it. Watch it again, okay? I know it's a simple strategy, but it is so powerful and it's working more times than not. And myself, I have to be more aggressive with it. So let me just go over GXAI. Why did I buy it so early? I thought that people are like, I thought the goal was to buy it at 3 p.m. GXAI had a big spike, a big AI breakout, from the 1s to nearly 4. So it's a breakout day. And when you have a breakout day, it's never really held as breakouts in the past, but it's also hasn't had this volume. So I think that, when an AI play heats up with huge volume, over aggressive shorts get squeezed, you want to try to get in on it because you don't know how far it can go. And, you want to try to get in on it on a dip. So for me, I missed the giant run up, unfortunately, on the way up, but I was dip buying it. And I'm thinking that it's going to retest this high in the 360s. And mind you, this is all after hours at 4 p.m. I'm asleep. So as much as you say, Tim, like you should have held, it would be tough for me to go to sleep with this kind of a chart because I'm just thinking that it's going to fade and I'm just wrong. After hours though, it was good. So like the answer really is less sleep. No matter where you are in the world, the more time you can focus on these plays, whether it's, this was a morning spike or an afternoon dip buy or an after hours runner. Like this is very symbolic of what is happening in the market. So sleep less. You'll see some photos and videos of me that I'm posting the next few days. I look like a freaking zombie. I am a zombie right now. So I'm trying my best. But I bought it on the dip because again, I thought that this was, as I said, I think this can bounce to the 3s later today or ideally next week. Let's see if I can be patient. So I wasn't even sure if I could be patient. I'm buying it at 260 on the dip. I'm buying it at 260 on the dip. And then I'm just like one more stab at 230 because I'm just like, you know what? Like this it's dropping and it's, you can see like stair step down, stair step down, stair step down, stair step down. But at some point it's also, there's a ton of support at 2. So worst case scenario, I'm selling it at 2, but that still gives it a lot of room because I'm buying in the 260s and 230s. Here I get a little bounce in the 240s and, again, my average was like 253. So I'm taking the loss here and I'm just like, you know what? This is already nearly 3 a.m. for me. So I'm already tired and it just did not go according to plan. So I took too much size. And so remember, I was like trying to, hold it. I said, remember DPRO last week. So some people are like, Tim, okay, it's a simple strategy. Why do you always say study hard? Just buy on a Friday, sell on Monday. You don't have to study. It helps when you see past plays. Okay. If you remember DPRO last week, let me just go through my trades and bring this up just so, some of you don't remember, some of you don't look through my past trades. I think it's so good to look through my past trades, to look through your own past trades. DPRO had a similar big morning spike on Friday, and I had a massive over the weekend win because I dip bought it, I added, I sold some, again, same kind of game plan where I'm, it's spiking big on Friday. I'm dip buying it. I'm adding. I sold some actually here for a little bit of a profit just to reduce my size, but I held the rest over the weekend. And this turned out to be a 30% winner for me. So some people are like, why are you buying so early? Same exact time on DPRO. And let me just bring up DPRO. Oh, AISP is another AI play that's spiking. Too many plays. But DPRO had the same kind of big, which day was it? November 29th. Had the same big spike here that ended at 10:30 in the morning. Came all the way down here by 11 a.m. down to the threes. So it's down a lot. And then what does it do is uptrends. And, now it's a little choppy. But like dip buying a Friday play after a big morning spike, this worked really well with DPRO. And I, fortunately, held it over the weekend. And making nearly $2 a share on my over the weekend play. So yeah, I could have held the full position. But again, when I take too big of a position, I don't mind having a smaller position to try to take the meat of the move. It's less stressful. That allows me to be more patient. And this was a massive, even though I sold some too early, this was a massive winner for me. So some people are like, I don't know why you're buying it at 10, 11 a.m. Just look through my recent trades and you can see. And again, in hindsight, GXAI, forget about me and my time zone and sleep issues. This really wasn't that bad in hindsight, buying in the 260s, buying in the 230s. It got down here to the 220s. So, okay, I was a little early, but I was on the right track. And here at 315, we'll see again what it does pre-market. But I had 22,000 shares here at 253. So, had I been awake, I still probably would have sold some, into this push right here at 3-ish. Had I been awake another 30 minutes, had I still had any shares, you can always say in hindsight what you would have done. But I definitely would have sized out some or even all into the close here just because, it was so choppy and I underestimated how much it would drop. But if you're patient, if you have small size, if you don't have time zone issues, let's say you just buy 2,000 shares, whether you buy it too early like I did at 260 or you get a better entry at 230, 260 or 230, it's all a winner now at 315 and it probably is going to spike up even more. So even though I took a nasty loss on this, I wasn't on the wrong track. So, some people will say, Tim, just make me money. That's all I care about. You got to look more into the nuances than just the overall profit and loss. A lot of things sucked for me here just based on, my timing, me being too aggressive, expecting too much. So I'll learn from that. But again, this was a solid Friday afternoon play. Which leads me to this. And this was like a gut punch too. I was grinding all week, sleeping very little, trying to capitalize on so many plays. And this wiped out the majority of my profits for the week. So it was really a gut punch. And I was just like, you know what? Screw this. I'm over trading. But what made me come out of retirement, I wasn't looking to trade again. Again, this is, 4 a.m. for me. Okay. So I am like full zombie mode. I did not plan on staying up all the time. What my goal was to go to sleep around midnight and then wake up at around 3 a.m. here in Japan and then be ready for the close. But unfortunately, there was just play after play after play that didn't allow me to go to sleep, to take a nap. So all my plans were screwed up. And then I saw this one and I'm like, oh my God, I don't want to trade. But this is the beauty of this. You might say, Tim, God, you're complaining so much about Japan, but you go there all the time. This is what's so ironic about my strategy in my life. I trade so much better sleep deprived. I did not want to do this trade at all. All I wanted to do was go to sleep. But I rationalized in my head, how guilty would I feel if this thing ran? Okay? And how did I know it was going to run? First of all, I didn't know that it was going to be, a huge runner. What I did know, hold on, let me find my past trade. What I did know is that a little over a year ago when I had my Vegas conference and I was getting ready to speak at my conference, this same stock had a massive spike on insider buying news. And I only made like $400. This was bad timing because I literally had to go on stage to open up my conference. Everyone's messaging me. They're like, you need to get down here. We got to do a sound check. And I remember this specifically because I was like, I have to do the trade again because I would feel guilty missing it. But I sold this and I made, a quick few $100 and pissed off everybody on my team because I was late for the sound check and everything. But what you guys have to understand is that this thing kept running. Okay. I think it went to the 160s, 170s that day. So again, bad timing given my busy life and, the conference. But I remember how this thing could run, and this ran on a simple insider buy. So this is, again, why I say study hard. This is why I say watch this presentation, even if you've already seen it, because it's so good to review the basics. It's good to review old trades. Fortunately, I remembered this $400 profit. I remember exactly what I did right and what I did wrong. And that is what made me want to buy it again, because they actually had a solid press release on Friday saying how, I don't know if you know about the newly formed Department of Government Efficiency with Vivek and Elon, two of the richest, entrepreneurs in America. They put out this press release specifically to kind of like get the excitement up about their business and say like, look, we're organized to be part of Doge, which is ludicrous because this is just a tiny company, but they're willing to put out a press release to hype themselves up. That's what it comes down to. So whether it was an insider buy over a year ago that ignited it, let me just show you. So this was when the insider buy was happening, and it went up. I mean, it never really hit 600. They did reverse split, so it screws up the whole chart. But this was just a few days later, and it had a massive spike. So long story short, this is a former supernova. If you remember it, it can spike again. So with LIFW, when the press release comes out here and they're saying consolidation, look, they say like, they're getting into Doge. They're just hyping themselves up. It doesn't matter if they're actually going to do anything with Doge. It doesn't matter if Elon Musk sees them or not. All that matters is that they're signaling the fact that they're willing to hype themselves up. Okay? When you're willing to hype yourself up, and the stock was already breaking out. So for me, I missed this because I was dealing with GXAI, but this one was spiking from $170 all the way up to 230. So it was already uptrending, and I'm buying it on this dip. I didn't know that I was going to have the perfect dip buy. I didn't know that it was going to run up so nicely. What I did know is that when a company proves that they're willing to hype themselves up, there's often promoters involved. There's often other, buyers with big size. I'm just buying a few thousand shares. It doesn't really matter for me. But at the same time, I know that there's bigger forces at work, okay? And you're trying to kind of piggyback the bigger forces at work, whether it's GXAI, whether it's a new AI play. So you have all the AI momentum buyers, and then you have all the over-aggressive short sellers, and that creates, a pretty nice powder keg of volatility. Same thing here, okay? This one, I'm just dip buying it. They have the press release. It's a former supernova. It's proven that it can spike big. I didn't know that it was going to go all the way, okay? The volume just took off. It was crazy. But again, traders have memories, stocks have memories. So anybody who profited last time on LIFW a year ago remembers it. I'm sure some over-aggressive short sellers were sucked in here. I'm sure some shorts were shorting it in here. Like, this thing couldn't even really bounce or couldn't even spike that much. Right here, it spiked from basically 2 to 230 before coming back down to 2. So shorts think that there's just not a lot of upside. So when they see it up here at 250 or 270, 280, I guarantee you that shorts are just shorting so much in here thinking that it's going to go back down to 2. And that's what leads to this whole spike from basically where it probably deserves to be in the high 2s. Okay, that's fair. But from the high 2s to the low 4s, this is all a short squeeze. And it's fighting. The volume is massive. It's trading 1 million shares a minute, which is just crazy because it's a battle. You have longs buying the momentum on a Friday afternoon, and then you have shorts just trying to average up. Maybe they're cutting. And again, shorts aren't wrong. Like, this does crack and this does fade, but it's so much better to be long because you don't know where that crack and where that fade is going to happen. So for me, again, I'm in zombie mode, was not looking to trade, wanted to go to sleep, but remembered it from a year ago, took a few thousand shares, And then, people were congratulating me on being patient because, again, I'm looking for this to be my weekend play. I had a big win earlier just a few days ago on Xena, Z-E-N-A, and a big win on PDYN. Both of them because the goal was to hold it overnight. Neither of them I held overnight, or Xena, actually, I got back in and made some overnight. But when the goal is to hold overnight and your hand is forced because you have too good of a profit, that's a good problem to have. Okay. And you should always be willing to take a profit. This was a solid 60% plus winner for me. That's one of my biggest percent wins of the year. And remember, I'm in zombie mode, so I'm not complaining about trading at 3, 4, 5 in the morning. I do this to myself. I want you to understand my mindset. And I even said this during Jack's webinar and he repeated it. I was like, this is like my gift and my curse in this life, where I trade so much better when I'm jet lagged, when I have bad Wi-Fi, because I'm not looking to trade. I don't want to trade. This GXAI trade, I got in, even though I was on the right track, I got in too early. I wanted it too badly. Okay. I saw the AI play. I'm like, oh, this is going to be such a good end to my week. And instead, because I was too early, because I was too over aggressive, I forced it. I'm like a short seller. This is what I say. I always make fun of the short sellers, the over aggressive short sellers. They want the stocks to crash too badly. And so they enter too early and they create giant losses. For myself, again, I wanted to end the week. I wanted to go to sleep. And me wanting that made me enter too early. Not once, not twice, but 3 times. And then giving into the fade and being like, oh my God, I forced this trade, and like kind of giving up because I was so tired. That's what led to the loss. So I screwed up by entering too early. I screwed up by taking the loss, and I overthought it. That's why I want you to watch this. I'm going to watch this too, because all you have to do is not overthink it, not try to force it too early. Recognize that these plays are volatile, so don't size in too much, which is what I did. I was fortunate to only lose this amount. I sold some into strength. I sold 2/3 of it basically into strength. And, I sized in too much and I scared myself. But you take like a more broad perspective here. I was right. This was a first green day on an AI play, and it keeps going. I just totally bungled it. And LIFW, I traded it so well, I did the opposite of bungling it. And it was only because I did not want to trade. So the lesson here is don't look to trade, don't want to look to trade, but at the same time, study enough, know the patterns inside and out so that if a perfect play comes about, you are ready to trade. This was fantastic. Some people will say, oh, you sold too early here. You could have sold all just under 4. Hell no. I never, ever will you see me try to make 100% on any trade. This was me selling very well and just keeping some, not because I thought that it was even going to go higher, just because, again, I'm trying to hold it over the weekend. Some people are pissed when I say like, hey, I'm going to hold it over the weekend and I have a 50, 60% profit same day, so I don't hold it over the weekend. So this was a perfect trade all around. Good dip buy, former supernova with a catalyst, remembering my last trade on it. Doesn't matter that I'm a zombie. Doesn't matter that I'm exhausted. Selling some into profits because it's just a fantastic run up. Not selling all because I want to hold the rest overnight. And then selling all, which this was pretty much at the top. And, I just said, no need to hold it any longer. Best case scenario. Congrats to all. It's 520. I trade better exhausted. This is the crazy thing about my trading. So again, I'm going to link to the challenge. You should be in the challenge. Watch all the DVDs, all the video lessons, all the webinars, not just from me, but the millionaire students, especially Jack Kellogg, who's giving the weekly webinars. And I'm going to link this. Even if you've already seen my presentation about Friday buys, watch it again. Because it's crazy how dead on this strategy is. Whether I have one good play or 2 good plays on the week, or, I've been having some intraday overnight plays, or even sometimes I size in too early and get scared and screw it up. The plays are there, whether I personally screw it or not. And this is the beautiful thing about a hot market. You have endless opportunities to learn. Leave a comment. Let me know if you saw GXAI, if you saw LIFW, if you traded them, if you did better than me. I'm just glad to not finish the week on such a sour note like I thought I was going to. But obviously I could do a lot better. But, this is trading. trading volatile plays. And this is why I make videos, so that you can learn from what I do right and what I do wrong. Gonna be a busy week. Let's get it. I'm thoroughly exhausted, so it's gonna be a good week. All right, one little video to add to my previous video, because GXAI just gapped up massively, up 72%. Remember, I was loading the boat in the mid twos and I got faked out. It's now in the mid fours. And just to put things in perspective, like, I lost $3,000 on this play. Okay. So in case you ever think that my results are best case scenario, remember this video. I had some at 260, 260, 267, 261, and 230. I got my average to 253, 22,000 shares. It is now 470 and climbing, 480 and climbing. Okay. This is why I also did a video the other day, why you should wake up. This is at 4:09 a.m. Eastern. Welcome to the market right now. Okay. Obviously, I would not hold all this way. Like I said, I probably would have sold half had I been even up, had I had any left at 3-ish. That would have still been a 50 cent a share gain. But just to show you the ridiculous amount of upside, okay? Like, if some people are like, oh, Tim, like, yeah, you're so good. Your millionaire students are so good. No, we're not. The opportunity is so good. You have to be an absolute moron not to capture it. And I'm talking about myself, because this is stupid that this stock has nearly doubled. I picked the single biggest winner. This is the single biggest percent winner. This is the single biggest dollar winner. This is the single most active stock. And I had it the day before. Okay. And look how fast it's moving. In case you don't want to wake up early, it was just 470 when I started the video. Now 440s. By the end of this video, it might be under 4. Okay. So you do have to wake up. You do have to understand how this works. But this is my weekend strategy. This loss is absolute worst case scenario. And congrats to so many of you who held. Even, one of my chat moderators, Ellis, was buying it late day. I don't even know if he held. I went to sleep. But every single one of us, whether you sold or not, we're on the right track. Okay? This is not random. This is not luck. Every single week, I'm picking 40, 50, 60, 70% winners. Whether it's PDYN, where I nailed some of it, but sold too early. Xena, where I nailed some of it, but I sold too early. Whether it's LIFW, which I actually timed well. GXAI, which I completely obliterated myself, just, as I talked about in this entire video. But no matter what I do personally, the strategy is on fire, okay? I just tweeted this. I said, who's up? And very few people are even up. But, I tweeted this at 4:02 a.m. and it was when it was in the 4s. Now 440s, and it nearly hit 5, okay? This is a double. This is a freaking double over the weekend. I overthought it. I sized in too early. I bitched out. I cut losses. And yet, this simple strategy, what I do almost every Friday, works in this market again and again and again. So I need to be more aggressive. If you missed this, you need to be more aggressive. I'm making this video, like I said, as much for myself as I am for you. At least I know the strategy, but I got to do better. Even with my time zone, no excuses allowed. Small size, big size, whatever. I got to let these things play out, because this strategy is so simple, but it's so powerful, and it's so dead on right now. So congrats if you did nail it. Also, DUO is spiking. ZEO, I saw, is also spiking. I mean, this was like a late Friday play. I didn't even see this. This spiked late Friday, and now it's spiking, early Monday. And this one actually gapped down to the 180s and then went to the 280s. But GXAI is the biggest winner of all. And I was there, and I, again, screwed it up. But teachers are those who can't do. So learn from my successes, learn from my mistakes. But as I always say, I'm just proud to be real. And this is the latest example where I personally really messed up, but the opportunity is there. And literally a blind person, like someone said this in chat, I didn't say it, someone was like, Stevie Wonder, who's blind, can see patterns like this. And it's true. So I need to be more aggressive. You need to be more aggressive. Every single one of you should watch this video about my weekend strategy. Start to understand it. If you do have my weekend newsletter, there's 100+ videos in the archive. Start studying them all. Learn from the successes. Learn from the mistakes. I'm pumped up. Congrats to many of you. I'll go through the testimonials later. I'm blowing up. My phone is with too many messages. It's a good problem to have. Cheers.